Hello, everyone. What a pleasure it is to have a very special guest with us today in our studio. And also, you will be hearing this on the radio. And it is indeed a special opportunity for me because in my lifetime, I've never had the opportunity to meet or shake hands or greet the state auditor for the state of North Carolina, who is in the general election this fall, and she's with us. Beth Wood, hello and welcome.
Thank you, Dave. It's a pleasure to be here.
It is indeed a pleasure to have you.
Thank
and
you.
she's in Person County today on this particular day, and we want to kind of get to know our state auditor a little better, and so we're going to ask her a few questions and also find out about the office and some of the things that go on in the state auditor's office, and I'm anxious to hear some of that. But I got to tell you, over the years, I've interviewed so many nice people, and many of them in high places, such as your office. And so many times I've found out that their roots started on a farm. And that's the way it is here in Person County for so many of our leaders who started out on a farm. Most of them were on a tobacco farm, and that's kind of where it began for you, isn't it?
Absolutely. On a small farm in Route 1 Cove City. My dad grew tobacco, and we had corns and soybeans and hogs. And I grew up, I had a suntan like everybody else did, but I got mine from plowing beans from not being at the beach. But we were a struggling family. We were the farm hands, and we worked those crops, and my daddy taught us how to work together as a family, pull together as a family, because we wouldn't have made it if we hadn't. And we understood what a good, hard day's work was. And so I got some great work ethics growing up on that farm. I also had the opportunity to understand what it's like to try to bring a family, trying to make ends meet, trying to provide for the family, and I saw that growing up. So I understand what a lot of families across our great state are going through after we've had this, economic downturn in 2008. So it's all of that I brought to the office of the state auditor. Not only the great work ethics, but understanding what it's like to be in a family that's struggling to make ends meet.
Absolutely. And so you have already made a lot of friends here in Person County, letting them know that you came up the way a lot of our people came up here in this county, and hard work and family and dedication and knowing what the good life was about back in those days.
Absolutely. I can't imagine how any family thinks they can make it any other way than like you said, hard work, committed to one another, and understanding what the family unit is about.
Well, I'm excited to have the opportunity to discuss with you your office. But first of all, I noted from some information, I guess it was on your website, that you have spent 28 years in auditing and as a certified public accountant a part of the time, and I guess you still are a certified public accountant in a way.
Absolutely.
And I know that this can be a rewarding position, of course, and also has many challenges.
It does. It has quite a few challenges in several different aspects. I would say that a lot of people don't really know what we do. When I meet people, they're a little standoffish, and that's because when I get down to the root of it, they think I audit their tax returns.
Okay.
So nobody wants to get to know the woman that's going to go back to Raleigh and look up their tax return. Well, that's not the case.
Absolutely.
In the state of North Carolina, we have a working operating budget of $42 billion. That's billion with a B. $21 billion comes in from the federal government, and these are federal taxes that we all pay that go to Washington, D.C., and then come back to Raleigh, North Carolina. Then there's another $21 billion that we use to run the state of North Carolina. Additionally, $10 billion comes in through state income taxes that you and I pay. Okay. Another $5 billion in sales taxes that you and I spend every time we buy something.
Yes.
And then another $1 billion in corporate income taxes. So there's those three line items making up 3/4 of the 21 additional $1 billion, not counting the 21 billion that comes from the feds that are our tax dollars. So my job as a state auditor is to make sure that those monies are accounted for properly,
Certainly.
the transactions are recorded properly, that we've reported them properly, and I think more important to most citizens in North Carolina that pay taxes is that nobody is wasting our tax dollars.
I like that. And I'm sure you do all of this by yourself.
Absolutely. I
Now,
don't.
tell us about your staff. How many do you
I have 173 staff members.
Is that right?
153 of them are auditors and investigators. We do financial statement audits for the universities, all
right.
17, for the state government, which would be the state agencies, Department of Public Instruction, Department of Transportation, Department of Health and Human Services. We also do financial statement audits for the 58 community colleges, half one year and half the next. And then we do financial related audits for the 100 clerks of court. And we do those on a 4-year rotational basis, so we're doing 25 a year. It's a lot of work for 153 auditors and investigators.
My goodness. I had no idea, as I'm sure many people do not. I'd like to read your mission statement. May
Absolutely.
I? Or would you like to read it?
No, I'm going to leave it to you.
I got this from the Office of State Auditor site, and it says, our mission, providing citizens and North Carolina's state leadership with independent, unbiased, and professional assessments of whether public resources are being properly accounted for. That says a lot, doesn't it?
I would agree, and I think it's important to note on a couple things in that mission statement, and it's what all 173 of my staff have to live by. Number one, independent and objective. So we bring no politics to the office. We don't bring any personal biases to the office.
Understand.
We say oftentimes we don't care who's wasting our money, they need to quit. We don't care which side of the aisle it's on, we don't care who it is, high up or whatever. They need to stop wasting our tax dollars. And then the other side of that is making sure that we have the best talent in the state auditor's office to audit our tax dollars. Because I don't want people in my office auditing my tax dollars that can't get a job anywhere else. I want the best, I want the brightest, I want the most talented, and I want people that are committed to knowing that the job they're doing affects all 10 million citizens of North Carolina. All 10 million. Because those are our tax dollars. They're our parents paying those taxes, or like I said, even when your children or grandchildren go out to buy something, they're paying sales taxes, which then go into Raleigh to run our state. So again, we want the best and the brightest auditing our tax dollars to make sure that they're not being wasted and that they're being recorded and reported properly.
Oh, powerful. Wow. On a typical Monday morning, you arrive at the office and just give us a couple of 3 ideas of, okay, we've got to do this today and this today and this day. What are some of the things you face on a Monday morning as a routine happening?
It could be one of several things, and usually ends up being all of them. I will meet with some of our teams that are out doing audits, and I listen to the objectives that they have established. We are after, when it comes to the more where we have a choice, the discretionary types of audits where we're looking for wasteful spending, I will sit and listen to the objectives of what they're trying to go after, what they're trying to find. Number one, does it make sense? Is it a practical application? And the other piece of it is it going to warrant our time spent? Because the state of North Carolina, again, $42 billion, you don't want to spend your time where you're going to either turn up nothing or you're going to turn up something that's very little savings or very little identification of wasteful spending. I may spend time in front of the General Assembly, which I just did yesterday, talking about audits that we've done. Because in the years past, I was in the state auditor's office 10 years. Started from the bottom, worked my way up. And so I saw that many audits that we did were put on a shelf and nobody paid any attention to them. So because of my background, because of my experience, because I've done this work, and because I sit in on these meetings and we talk about what's being done, I take our audits and go down to the General Assembly and I tell them, committees, what we found and why it's important. And so we've seen laws being made to stop the wasteful spending in our state because I'm able to go down and do that. We may have personnel issues. Again, we're making sure that we have the best and the brightest. I'm looking at metrics in our own office. When I came to work for the state auditor's office, there were little to no budgets or deadlines or metrics. You can't write other agencies up for things you're not doing yourself.
Okay.
So we're making sure in our own office that the time it's spent on these audits are reasonable and what it should be. So it could be, again, looking at topics that are going to be audited, or how this audit has come along and where are we? Are we on track? Are we on budget? Or I could be speaking to the General Assembly about audits that we have done and what we found, or I'm looking at the metrics in my own office. Are my staff delivering what we've promised the citizens of North Carolina, whether it's quality or efficiency?
Just a couple more questions. When you wrap up your day and you go home, give us an example of a real reward, like an aha moment today, and then maybe comment on some of the challenges that you face.
We wrapped up an audit just recently, and we were doing an audit on an agency that spends federal money. The federal program is about $11 billion. We haven't finished it and made this official, so I'm not going to name anything yet, but I can give you a general idea. So the agency and this particular program spends $11 billion a year.
Can't imagine.
So we did an audit, and we looked to see if this program was spending all the money that it should on the things that it should.
All right.
And it's 217 million transactions a year.
My goodness.
We pulled a sample, and we found errors. When we projected those errors into the population, it looks like that we have inappropriately spent $1 billion. $1 billion. So we are finalizing that audit. So when I go home at the end of the day and I say, I can go tell the General Assembly that for this program, we inappropriately, and that does not mean that somebody did it intentionally or that they were trying to mislead anybody. The program is just so big. And we don't have all the checks and balances necessary to catch $1 billion worth of misappropriations. So now the agency head, as well as the General Assembly, will make sure that the checks and balances go in place to cut down. With 217 million transactions a year, you're never going to be 100% getting it right.
That's absolutely right.
But it can be a lot better than $1 billion. So that's a good feeling when I go home at the end of the day and I know we've dotted our I's, we've crossed our T's, and when we present that information, it's going to be irrefutable. Nobody can argue with me.
My goodness, that's powerful. Do you have any serious challenges facing you as we progress along next year and the next? Or?
We do. The data that we need to be able to look at these types of issues, the data is so big, and the state of North Carolina is so far behind on IT. So we tried to do an audit on Medicaid a year and a half ago, and it was 10 years worth of Medicaid information. It took us 1 year to get the data to a point that we felt like it was reliable in that it tied back to the state's books. They pull it, give it to us, it wouldn't tie back to the books. We'd ask them again. They pull it, they give it to us, it wouldn't tie back to the books. We went for a year, week in and week out, until we got the data reliable enough that we could audit it and then tell the General Assembly what we found. That's a huge challenge for us. The pushback, state government is a huge machine. It's been running like this for decades. People have been there for decades.
We've always done it this way.
We've always done it this way, and you can't do that in state government. Well, we have got to change to catch up with the times. So the pushback from people not wanting to give us the information because they know what it's going to uncover, or people not wanting to change with the times, that's a huge challenge to the state of North Carolina also, and me getting my job done.
Busy week, every week.
Absolutely.
But I know you love it, don't you?
I do love what I'm doing.
And you have a wonderful staff, I'm certain.
I do. I am so proud of my staff. I watch them in these exit conferences. I watch people take them on and say, that's not a finding, and my staff says, here it is, it's the evidence that says it is. Now show me yours. And they can't, and we go home with irrefutable findings. And that's what the General Assembly and the governor needs. When we take them these audit reports, they've got to be able to depend on our work. And they can't have the other side argue as effectively as we do. So we have absolutely got to make the findings irrefutable so the General Assembly and the governor can do something with that work.
Again, as the day closes, you have to have so many rewards, and you must get standing ovations when you're in front of the legislature and you tell them, we have figured out a way to save or cut these expenses or save this much money.
I don't know about a standing ovation, but I'll tell you this, they have come to depend on our work because, again, I'm pushing no political agendas. We are just trying to put the information out there, all the evidence that leads to the truth, not a piece of the evidence here or a piece there that paints a picture of some sort, but all the evidence that leads to the truth, and they then can make decisions having had that evidence in front of them.
This is an election year, and this is an elective office. How many terms have you been? I meant to ask that earlier.
I've served 2 terms.
2 terms, okay.
I am the first female
Yes, that is
to ever
correct.
sit in this seat, but
Yeah.
I think a more important statistic than that is I'm only the 2nd CPA. The office has been in existence since the 1890s, and I'm only the 2nd CPA. And I'm only
serve,
to serve, and I'm the only CPA running for this office in 2016.
All right, we're going to give you some time, and this is going to be your free time now. And let's put out a pitch here for your office. It's in the general election, not in the primary. In fact, this interview is being conducted on primary day,
Absolutely.
on March 15th. But in November, tell the folks what they need to hear. It's your time.
Thank you. This is an office that begs for a person who is technically proficient. You don't need a politician in this seat, and you do need somebody with a background for auditing federal grant monies, able to perform performance audits, able to perform IT audits, able to perform financial statement audits. And again, I'm the only candidate running with this background. And I have such a significant, unique background in that not only have I done this work, but I have taught CPAs across our nation.
That's right. I read
how
that.
to
yeah.
do governmental auditing and how governmental accounting works. It's a very specialized field. Not many people have it. I am considered an expert in the field of auditing federal compliance money, and I'll remind you, $21 billion
Yes.
coming into the state of North Carolina from Medicaid, food stamps, clean water and air, roads, bridges to be built. And there is no other candidate running with my background, with my education, with my experience, and as a practicing CPA in this governmental arena. Vote for me. If you care about your tax dollars, you'll vote for Beth Wood in November.
Thank you so much. I learned a lot. I admit I was knew a little bit, but you have really enlightened me, and I'm certain that you have enlightened people of Person County and the surrounding area, and we're thrilled to have you here.
Dave, it's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
You bet. Good luck,
Thank you.
and thank you again for coming.
Absolutely.
Beth Wood, and she is your state auditor, and for the state of North Carolina, as you've heard, and she is up for re-election in November. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, everybody, for viewing and listening on radio, and we appreciate this time that you spent with us today. Thank you.